Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Disability Advisory Commission meeting of August 12th, 2015. This meeting is now in session. Okay, our first order of business is to do roll call. Commissioner Jeffords.
Present.
Commissioner Stutzman.
Present.
Commissioner Yeager.
Present.
Commissioner Van Adder.
Present.
We do have two commissioners that are not present tonight, and that is Commissioner Curtis and Commissioner Vandelangert. Would you please stand and face the flag and recite with us the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now we will move on to staff reports, and we will start with Commissioner Jeffords.
I have nothing to report this month, thank you.
Thank you. I have nothing to report this month. What I do have to report can be pushed off to later on in the meeting because it deals with another agenda item. Vice Chair Stutzman.
I only have one item which will not be covered somewhere else on the agenda, and that is, if you all have a pen in hand, you might want to jot this down. It is a website, a resource that I found. It's called www.ifineedhelp. All runs together, ifineedhelp.org. Now what this does is it is a source for tags, window decals, t-shirts, shoelace ties with a QR code on it, and it also has a label. So if you have an autistic adult or someone with I can't even think of it, Alzheimer's or another kind of disease like that where they're nonverbal or where they have a tendency to wander. It is a QR code that they wear on their person, either as a necklace or on a shoelace if it's a young person. And it has a QR code that if somebody finds them, they can actually scan it from their cell phone and get information. Does this person need medicine? Who to call, all this information about them. Fantastic resource. And like I said, it has everything from a decal you can put on a car sticker, a car window if you are in a car accident and you might have a disabled person with you that can't speak for themselves and you are unconscious, they'll know how to deal with the person in the car with you. Same for a window sticker for home, and then the cards to put on themselves. So that was something that I wanted to share with everyone.
Thank you. That seems like that would be a good resource for those that can't speak for themselves or help themselves. Commissioner Van Adder. Thank you very much. Commissioner Yeager.
I have a couple of things, but I'm going to save them for item number 3 on the agenda so we can open it up for discussion. But I did want to mention that I presume that Paul Free is going to be speaking on September 9th. I didn't see that in our agenda, but I presume that's going to be happening for our next meeting.
I have heard no different from our last meeting where that was stated.
Okay. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we will have a call to the public. Would anybody in the public watching like to come and address the board? Anybody? Anybody? No? Okay, we'll move on then to our agenda items, and our first agenda item is from last month, the presentation of the Above and Beyond Award to QT stations for providing excellent customer service to patrons with disability. Vice Chair Stutzman.
The representative from QT did attend last month. Unfortunately, when he came to the building, he was told that the building closed at 5 and was turned away. When he said that he had a meeting tonight, he was told by the employee that there were no meetings scheduled. He did call me the next day to find out when we were rescheduling for. I told him tonight, and we agreed to meet at 4:30. I called over his place of business at 4, and they told me he left work at 2. I did not have a personal phone number for him, just the work number, so I do not know if he's going to be attending this evening.
Okay, so for the current time, in case he does show up, we'll just move the item, but we'll probably have to table that item till next month.
Thank you, Chair.
Second item on the agenda tonight, discussion pertaining to making arrangements for experts in the disability-related topics to speak at local libraries. And this would be Commissioner Jeffords. What do you have to say about that?
Wrong button. Thank you. Unfortunately, I had some personal computer problems this month, and I would like to table this topic until next month.
You can do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Stutzman.
I did have 2 recommendations for Commissioner Jeffords for that. Would it be best for me to just bring them up next month when this is tabled to, or would you like me to forward you some information beforehand?
I would like you to give me whatever information you have as soon as possible so we can get this ball rolling a little bit faster.
Okay, great. I shall do that, and then we will discuss it at the next meeting.
Great. Item number 3, discussion pertaining to cross-disabilities children's programming. Commissioner Yeager.
We are getting closer to solidifying the program that we had talked about at our last meeting. Commissioner Jeffords and I met with the director of this Friends of the Surprise Library, Allison Klein, who, by the way, is a former member of the Disability Advisory Commission. And the 3 of us brainstormed some of the ideas for programming and logistics, et cetera. I also reached out to a few other people that Director Klein had introduced me to. Paul Free, who is the new director of Adaptive Phys Ed, or Adaptive Sports for the City of Surprise. Donna Miller, who I got an incorrect email address, but rest assured I'm in the process of tracking her down. She works for the City of Surprise, and I don't know exactly what her position is, but I know she has something to do with the library. The library, I think, Commissioner Pashna, Chair Pashna, I should just let you know, is in a little bit of a state of transition, shall we say, right now. The person who was in charge, the chief, I don't know what the title is, chief librarian. They retired or they left, and there's nobody to take their place, and I don't even think there's a temporary figurehead. But there's got to be somebody who's calling the shots, who opens the door every morning and locks it every night. So I'm still in the process of tracking that down, because that person is going to be essential to planning our program and helping us brainstorm. So I'm hoping to get that person on board with us at a meeting next week to solidify our program. And finally, I made contact with Paul Free, who is going to be here next at our next meeting. He is meeting, the reason why he can't come tonight, he's actually meeting in the room behind us with the Youth Council, and he says he would be happy to help us along with that, although I think he works more with adolescents. I will tell you, though, just briefly, I want to go through what we have so far. And this is not written in stone. I still need to confer with Commissioner Jeffords on this, and I'd still like to brainstorm a little bit more. But I wanted to make sure it was on the agenda tonight in case any of you have any comments or suggestions to guide us or direct us how we should proceed. The goal is, the title of the program, I think, is going to be Folk and Sing-Along Songs of America. Our goals are going to be three major goals. 1, to generate interest in the music and literacy connection. 2, is to present topics of interest in a fun way. And 3, to introduce the songs, the following types of songs: action songs, which I'll define as songs that require movement and motivation, to add motivation, inclusion, and interest. And by inclusion, this is for cross disabilities, children with cross disabilities, as well as their non-handicapped peers. Folk songs, which I'll define as a song which tells a story from a particular country and or culture. Sing-along songs, which I have two different types, which are call and answer, where a leader calls out a certain phrase and then the children would follow and repeat. A metaphorical song, which I'll define as to express a view or a statement with an analogy to infer meaning. And I'll give you examples of these songs if you like. And then the last one, a story song, which is a song that tells a story which can be either true or false, or serious or funny. So I'm hoping that these are going to be motivational topics, and I hope to present them in a fun way, but we're not finished talking about it, and this is certainly open to everyone here. If you have any additional ideas, suggestions, comments, positive or negative, but we will be meeting on this one more time to solidify the program, and then we'll move on to the logistics and hopefully get that. I hope to, at our next meeting, to report on when our first session will be. We're shooting for sometime in October to give us plenty of time to do some advertising and get things ready. So I'm hoping that that will be the case. Now, what happens after that, it depends largely on how the turnout goes and how we do for the first session, but then we can open it up into a lot more different things. But I wanted to keep the focus fairly narrow for the first one.
Commissioner Yeager, I do have a question for you. And the only reason I have this question is because for the past few months we've been talking about the library, and I know that the library wants to partner with us, wants to help us, and that's great, but without having that lead librarian, that's their part where they can't touch anything right now, and I get that. What do you think about maybe partnering with somebody else in the community of Surprise? How do you think that would go? Because we hope that parents are going to get involved with while the kids are there. The parents are going to be there to help, watch, chaperone. Right. So, and just off the top of my head, because let's say, like Uptown Alley, let's say that, like, and I'm just saying until the library gets started, do you think that might be something that we should look at, that we could look at?
I think that certainly could be a possibility, but I think it's my own personal philosophy, Chairman, is that I want this very first session to be successful. And by being successful, we have to have a good show of attendance, and we have to have people who are willing to bring their children back for a second session. So after that, absolutely, we could use other venues and so on. But for this, the first session, I'd like to keep it music literacy based, to get children more interested in going to a library, to get children who have a handicapping condition to know that there's a place for them at the library. And the library can be a fun place with one of the activities that's not just about sitting quietly in a room and reading. And hopefully with this program, and again, if you want, I can go over some of the songs, but it'll inspire children to go and do their further research and find out more about the subjects that we present at this year. But no, I certainly wouldn't rule that out, Chair Pashna. But for the first one, I think we should keep our, again, this is my own opinion, but I think we should keep our narrative focused so we can make sure it's a success.
Thank you. Vice Chair Stutzman.
Two things. One, to respond to your comment, I think that should we find that the library goes without a leader and keeps pushing you off and pushing you off for the program not to get lost, maybe we could look for an alternate temporary location with its permanent home always planned to be the library, just so that the momentum isn't lost. Hopefully, like you said, somebody's opening the door and the library is functioning. People are taking out books and things like that. Hopefully you'll be able to have your first one there and we won't even have to discuss alternate locations. The second thing is I have two two possible professionals for you. One is a professional storyteller, and the other is a woman who has her master's in music therapy. She does a lot of work with Parkinson's patients specifically. I guess that was just where her focus was. She has a general music therapy degree from ASU. They're both local here in the Phoenix area, and I would be happy to give you their contact numbers for future sessions of your fantastic group.
That would be fantastic. One quick question. Do you think they would be open to this as a volunteer?
Yes.
Terrific. In response to your first idea, though, yes, I've already thought of a backup plan, and I'm committed to trying to get this thing, I am committed to getting this thing moving in October. And if we absolutely cannot, for whatever reason, use the library, I'm already working on some contacts for using another facility, perhaps in City Hall itself. The reason why I think the Arizona room in the library is the best option, first of all, it's gigantic if you've ever seen it. So, whether we have a lot of people, little people, it's definitely going to accommodate with them with no problem, including parents. And more importantly, though, what I'm going to, one of and I think this was Commissioner Jeffords' idea to begin with, way back when we first started to discuss it, is to have some of the topics that we're going to be presenting, have the librarian round up a bunch of those books and display them in the Arizona room when we are giving our presentation. And then we're going to introduce those kind of things and encourage children to take out some of those books and to do further studying and so on. And in fact, if you recall, I think it was at our last meeting, I mentioned that, well, maybe I'm thinking when I met with Director Klein of the Friends of the Library, I think I mentioned to her, one of the nice things with the Maricopa County, I can request several books to be brought from all over Maricopa County. For example, if we did a song on the sinking of the Titanic, then there's lots of books that are written on all aspects of the Titanic. And what I could do is to request all the books that I can find in Maricopa County on the internet, on their library server, have them shipped to the Northwest Regional Library branch, and then we can display them for children to take out when they come to that program. So that's why that would be the ideal thing to make the connection. But if not, yes, I'm already working on a connection for a secondary place. But I'll take those two contact informations for you before we leave tonight. That'll be great.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Yeager. Commissioner Jeffords?
Yeah, one thing I want to clarify is that we do have a contact at the library that I've spoken to in regards to the adult program, and that's Ann Bowles. And she has assured me that we can reserve space. I don't know why I'm so loud, sorry. We can reserve space, so I don't think that's going to be an issue. The other aspect or benefit of working with the library is we have the Friends of the Library, and one of the reasons we think that's a very valuable partnership is there may be a time where we incorporate some arts and crafts or other hands-on things where there might be a small fee involved, and as a city we can't we can't do anything regarding money for that. So at least having the nonprofit affiliation with the Friends of the Library is going to be beneficial if we ever do need some monetary support for small items such as arts and crafts or stuff like that. And again, to kind of reiterate what Commissioner Yeager has said, what we were hoping is that we could get in touch with the youth or children's librarian who would, we would talk about what the theme was for the month, and then they would compile a list of appropriate books for the age group, and we could pass that out as a tool for parents and kids if they're interested in specific topics. They can get those books. Parents can read to the child if the child can't read themselves, or we can work that way. We really want to inspire the kids to not only get together and to be together and to give them a social outlet, but also to improve upon their skills and to kind of create this love of learning and a love of reading. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Jeffords. Is there any other discussion so far? Commissioner Yeager.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I neglected to mention that we decided on an age group of between approximately 7 years old and 12 years old for our first session at least. And the other byproduct of this, I hate to call it a byproduct, that sounds like it's not important, but it's certainly one of our most important things is to get children who have some sort of disability to do things and participate with their non-handicapped peers. So it's a very strong motivation. I think that's what actually kind of inspired this thing, one of the things that inspired this. So, so I just wanted to get that in there.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Yeager. Is there any other discussion?
Not from me, thank you.
Okay, so we will revisit this next month, and you'll give us an update?
Yes, and I'll give you an update, and hopefully I'll have some solid information, hopefully a date, and hopefully we'll be starting it in October.
Thank you. I look forward to that. Our next agenda item is discussion pertaining to the Disability Advisory Commission materials, brochures to be updated, and copies made for public events. And the main one that we were looking at was the Disability Advisory Commission brochure, which we were all to take a look at and see how we could change it. I will start this because I have Commissioner Curtis's feedback. He sent it to me, and I told him I would read it, and then we can go around and get everybody else's feedback. As far as Commissioner Curtis, he thinks better quality of paper, coloring to draw the attention of the reader, which I know I was talking with Vice Chair Stutzman, and she'll probably cover that as well, correct? The flyer gives the wrong dates for our meetings. They're supposed to be the third Wednesday of each month. I know we've had a couple offsets because people couldn't be here, but that should be more factual. And then in the section recent activity, it still mentions that we're working with the Surprise Police Department to reduce parking violations. Why don't we now mention, tell the victory of our all-time low violations, and we can maybe have a tagline of mission accomplished. And Commissioner Curtis also states that WHM was great, but he's betting there's been either something more recent or removed the date as the event was 2 years ago. I think if this is going to be a current brochure, it needs to have current information. And then he states the contact information updates, which contact information should be updated if there are any changes to that. Do you guys think that we should have who's on the commission or not? Vice Chair Stutzman.
I don't believe so. We're kind of a living organism that changes and turns over, and I think while we greatly appreciate everyone who serves, it is the organization that people need to get in contact with, especially since we aren't allowed to have anyone contact us individually. It all has to go through the city.
Very good point. Commissioner Yeager?
I wholeheartedly agree with Vice Chair Sutzman. I would just like to add, though, I think we definitely need a prominent place for a contact telephone number. And it's not going to be one of us, and I don't want to add any more work to the staff member who works with us here, Linda Davis, but it should be somebody. I don't know if it will be you, Linda, or somebody else. We do have a in here. Microphone?
I can hear you, but it's not coming through your microphone.
Yes.
Utilized, yeah. There we go.
And I think that should be in a prominent place, but I agree that we don't need everybody's names on there, and that'll be just fine.
Thank you, Chair, or Commissioner Yeager. Commissioner Stutzman?
I think when we reviewed this last month, we did decide that pretty much all of this had to be scrapped because it was either outdated or not applicable anymore. And in looking through it to try to come up with perhaps something that would be simple and easy, the first thing that came to me is maybe not a trifold, because whether we print them here or have them printed, somebody's got to do all that folding. And a lot of times people will see something sitting down like that and they'll only look at what's facing and not even bother to get all the information that's tucked inside. So I was thinking of something more along the size of our magnet. And then I said, well, the magnet has a lot of information on it already. So what I did was I played with the copy from the magnet, and I created a backside for it, which included our mission statement, a little bit about the DAC, and then our focus areas, which in prior lives was our strategic plan. So although the piece that I'm holding up right now, this covers our mission statement and the focus areas and a little bit about the commission without naming any individuals. And then the flip side is still the wording, the contact numbers, the when we meet, the how to find us, all that information at their fingertips. My suggestion was that it be half size. So the finished product would be this size and it would be two-sided. It would be in color and it would be on not a shiny glossy like some of the professional pieces that we have here because we have a very limited budget, but on at least like a cardstock paper, like a business card would be. I also have a connection at the Office Max in Surprise to get them run off if it was something that our staff felt was too much to do. So it's not a finished product by any means, but it is at least some kind of a mock-up of something that we can start with of what do we want to include on this, you know, what do we want to take out, that kind of thing. But the wording came from the meat of why we are doing what we're doing. And I can pass this around. I apologize for not having more copies of it.
Commissioner Yeager.
All right, in keeping with this one step at a time, if we could go start with Vice Chair Sutzman's suggestion. The mission statement, first of all, I think what we should do is totally eliminate the second paragraph of that where it starts with the Disability Advisory Commission will outline a work plan because we no longer use that format, and advise the City Council staff and community at large regarding projects, process, and improvements and services. And the first part of the mission statement, I believe, is well enough said, well enough done. However, I don't know, this is my own personal opinion. I would love to hear what my fellow commissioners would like to say on this. But if you start out with something that's called a mission statement, how often do you go to an event and you go to a table and pick up one of their brochures, and as soon as you see the mission statement, even though you have no idea what this organization does, you might just kind of gloss over that because it sounds a little bit too formal and a little bit too technical. I wonder if we might not, for the brochure, retitle that saying, who are we, with a question mark, and then rewrite the mission statement, but basically saying the same thing. Or what do we do? You know, or who are we? We are the Disability Advisory Commission, and then maybe in parentheses, a volunteer organization that works within the City of Surprise. What do we do? And then maybe just a general statement, instead of having the 5 or 6 different focus areas that we have listed, maybe instead of going through all of those, to come up with a general statement saying, we are here to help anyone or organization who has any problems with disability in our city. Something like that. I'd like to think of this commission as being a place where people who have a handicap condition has a friend and has a liaison with anything within the city of Surprise. That isn't to say we can't solve everything or we can solve anything, but with our resources, we can certainly point that person in the right direction. And as those of you who either have a disability or who know someone who has a disability, you know that can be an awfully daunting, scary kind of thing to go through when you're looking for help and you're not sure if anybody is going to understand or help you. Whether it's in terms of something parking or going to an event that the city has, or realizing where there are barrier-free environments for you, or knowing if you're going to be asked to read something or see something or hear something, and so on. So the Disability Advisory Commission, I would like to see our organization put the publicity out there that we should be your first call. If you're not sure where to go or you have a problem, then call the DAC and we would work on that problem for you. And I know for myself, and I've said this before at plenty of meetings, that to me is the most rewarding thing that we do on this commission, when we are able to help other people navigate the way through a system. So my suggestion is to reword where it says mission statement, to change that into something a lot less formal and a lot more direct, like I suggested, who are we and what do we do, or when do we meet, that kind of thing. And to rewrite, perhaps the Disability Advisory Commission will focus on community-wide accessibility that addresses the needs of people with disability by increasing public awareness and advocacy. That's certainly not true, and I don't think we should change that. However, I don't know, just maybe it's me, but does that sound a little bit formal to all of you and a little bit textbookish, if I can coin a phrase?
Commissioner Jeffords?
My opinion is that I think we need a little bit of that formality so that we are looked upon as a respectable subsidiary of the city, if that would make sense. That's my kind of feel. I understand what you're saying. We don't want to scare people by seeming unapproachable, but at the same time, I think there's a certain respectability that comes with some of that verbiage in having a mission statement.
Well, I think that's that part comes with, we're allowed to use the City of Surprise of logo, so that certainly gives us a lot of power behind our words, no?
Vice Chair Stutzman?
Thank you, Chair. I believe that specifically because we do have the City of Surprise on our paperwork, we have to kind of play by their rules. I know that the mission statement has to be approved by City Council, and for us to change it, we would actually have to have a work session for that, and it would have to be approved by them, which is why I left the wording the way it was. But even if we took the mission statement off of this marketing piece and kind of just made it informational and didn't use something formal like a mission statement, the wording is still going to have to be approved by the city attorney. So I kind of was just helping speed the process along by using what they already approved. But I agree that with the making it approachable, we had the slogan of "Let us advocate for you" on the magnet, which I think would be great to use on another marketing piece. Kind of keep that up, as you said. Not only is it the most rewarding, but I think it does the most good here in the city that we are here for that purpose. I loved your suggestion of like a who are we or about us, kind of making it more friendly. What are we doing and how can we help you? And that exact caption is a caption that I was going to suggest as well on this paper, and I'll pass it down to Chair Yeager. As far as the focus areas or the fact that we don't have a strategic plan or that's not the format we use anymore, I think that those different subsections where we each have signed up for one or two that are going to be what we focus on, I think that it's still important to list them, because if we're too general, people are going to say, you know, well, how do you help people with disabilities? Does that mean I call you if I need a ride somewhere? I think listing the focus areas at least gives them an idea of some of the suggested topics that they can bring to us, but just as simply as a starting point. So I think that those suggestions were right on and something that we definitely can start working with.
Thank you, Vice Chair Stutzman. And I agree, Commissioner Yeager. If we want to try to make the mission statement more people-friendly, we can do that. But we are a commission in the city of Surprise, and they have to know why we are there. You know, just like Vice Chair Stutzman said. Can they call us if they need a ride? That's not necessarily what we do, but the information we provide them can give them the people that would do that.
Yes.
And so, if you would like to look at it and in the future maybe make this mission statement more friendly, then we can all come up with something and we can bring that back at a later time.
Okay, to be clear though, I wasn't suggesting, because, as usual, Vice Chair Sutzman always comes up with excellent points. But I wasn't suggesting that we change a single word in the mission statement. I believe it's just fine the way it is. I believe we should leave it called a mission statement. That's exactly what it is, and it has its place. However, what I am suggesting is that we make the brochure that we hand out to people, I suppose you could even leave the mission statement on there, but I still think we need, as Commissioner Sutzman, Vice Chair Sutzman says, something that is more approachable, something that's the eye will quickly read and say, who are we? Oh, what do we do? Oh, and who do we contact? Ah, okay. And now you have also an excellent point, Chair Pashna, about the focus areas. I never thought of it that way, but you're right. If we don't list what our focus areas are, we might get somebody saying, come and pick me up. So I suppose we do need something like that, and maybe we should rewrite that, and again, a little bit more approachable way to say, here's how we can help businesses, transportation problems. Connectivity is a little bit vague. We'd have to go over and look exactly what we wrote for that in the strategic plan. Communication's a little bit vague. Outreach, if we define, something colloquial, that means outreach. Disaster security and emergency preparedness, again, it's very vague. Advocacy, that's not so vague. Maybe we can make sure that we write down that we are here to advocate for you. Housing problems or issues would make it less vague. Visitability, that's very, very vague and usually out of our domain. And financial solutions, again, a little bit vague and more towards corporate. So I'd like to see us, if you'd like, Chair Pashna, I would be happy to work on these things and redefine them a little bit and try to make them more simple and more colloquial, more, as Vice Chair Sutzman says, more approachable. One last thing though, as far as getting to approve this, or we have to go through a big mishmash, so to speak, I think we're going to have to do that anyway, because I think, as Linda Davis might tell you, anything that we change or anything new that we add that we're going to have published to give out is going to have to be approved by the city attorney's office and give it the final go-ahead, and the risk management people and so on. So anything we do at all is going to have to go by them, and if something doesn't quite jive, I'm sure it's going to come back to us, which is fine. But I don't think we should use that as, you know, Vice Chair Sussman, I'm as frustrated as you sometimes with the bureaucracy we have to go through. But I don't think we should let us be a deterrent not to put something else, rather than just update this stuff and tell them it's the same old stuff, only we're updating you know, this here, and we're moving along. So I'd like to see us work on that a little bit. But Commissioner, Chair Pashna, if I may suggest, I think you have an excellent idea, but again, maybe my frustration is coming out with the bureaucracy here. If you allow me to, or all of us, to go over this, I wouldn't object to doing that before our next meeting and within plenty of time, emailing a copy to everybody so you have something to ponder over, not to discuss during emails and violate the open meeting law for Arizona, but just as a way of sending you information that you can ponder over and we can discuss at our next meeting, and with the hopes of finalizing it at our next meeting, and then within the meeting after that, with the hopes that it'll be approved and we can get this thing finished.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioner Yeager. Commissioner Jeffords.
Yes, this is just a quick question to Vice Chair Stutzman. I'm at a bit of a disadvantage because I can't see the mock-up that you have presented. And I'm wondering if, I understand what you're saying, it being double-sided, I'm wondering if the information from the magnet in terms of resources, if they're included in the handout as well, or just the verbiage about the DAC.
Vice Chair Stutzman.
The front of this half-page mock-up is the identical picture of the magnet, exactly the same with nothing changed. But since the magnet did not have a reverse side and our handout would, on the reverse of that handout, there is a section about us, which talks a little bit about what the commission is, a mission statement, and carrying it over from the old brochure, which I believe is one of the only things that did carry over, and then listing, having a section for where we describe the kinds of things that they can come to us for. And for starting bullet points for us to work off of, I listed the focus areas that each of us signed up for, which ones we wanted to work on. And I apologize for that not being more accessible to you.
No, that's okay. But I just want to state that I really, really like the idea of putting the meat from the magnet onto our handout, because I think that one of the best things that we do is provide resources to our community.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So does that sound like a good idea, that we go back and revisit the mission statement and bring that back next meeting and see what we come up with?
With your permission, I certainly would like to mull it over, type up something, a proposal or suggestions, and send it to everyone as a form of information, and would encourage my fellow commissioners to do the same if you like. Not to communicate with each other or to discuss this, but just to share your viewpoint, and then we can discuss it and hopefully finalize at the next meeting. Chair Pashna.
Commissioner Jeffords, are you okay with that? Vice Chair Stutzman?
Absolutely.
Commissioner Van Adder? Do you have any other input that you would like to see on the flyer? You weren't here last meeting, so if you would like to just give us your feedback next meeting, we can also do that.
I would like some time.
Definitely.
Bottom right, yeah.
As Commissioner Yeager said, ponder it and be sure that something doesn't come up that I might like to discuss next.
Very well. Very well. All right, moving on to agenda item number 5. And this is discussion and action pertaining to the nomination and presentation of an above and beyond award to Fry's Food Store. All of you should have received an email from Linda Davis earlier this month or late last month that I typed up, and I'll just give a brief overview here before we go to the vote. I've lived in Surprise for just about a year, and due to the proximity of my house, Fry's is the closest store to me. So that's the store I usually go shopping at. And one of my favorite things to do during the summertime, as I'm sure it is with a lot of you, is eat watermelon, eat cantaloupe, eat pineapple, eat all those fruits that are very hard to cut. Especially when you only have one hand to cut and you're trying to slice through something with a hard shell with one hand, trying not to cut off fingers. So when I first bought a melon at Fry's, I found somebody in the produce department and I just asked them. I didn't, demand it. I didn't say, I just asked them if they could cut it for me. Without any problem, no hesitation whatsoever, no mean comments, no grunts, no gripes. They took it, they cut it, they put it in a nice container for me, and they brought it right out to me. They've done it every time I've gone in that store and bought something like that where it would be almost next to impossible for me to cut by myself. And I just think that they deserve to be recognized for that. I mean, honestly, it was a gamble that I took because I honestly expected them to laugh in my face. I really did. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't do it, but I'm saying they're busy. I understand they're busy. They have a store to run, but that they took the time to actually do that, and they did a good job at it. They didn't rush through it. And I did that. That's why I believe that Fry's, and the Fry's I am specifically talking about, is at the corner of Bell and Reams Road. And that's the store I'm nominating tonight. So with that being said, can we take a vote? Vice Chair Stutzman?
I will make a motion that we award them the Above and Beyond Award from the City of Surprise for going out of their way to accommodate people, specifically one of our own. And it is particularly the Fry's on Bell and Reams.
Bell and Reams.
Okay, so that's part of the motion, that it's the Fry's on Bell and Reams.
Commissioner Yeager?
I'd like to second that motion, but before I do, I'd just like some clarification. Is it the same person who did that for you each time since?
No.
Okay, that's
It's the same manager who's on duty, but it's been a different employee each time.
And each time you met with the same welcomeness.
Yes.
If you will.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they told me not even just tell them what I need.
I would like to second that motion. I would also like to consider, though, or know who you would like to give the award to. Should it be the general manager of the store, the manager for the department, or even the several individuals who do that?
I know who I want to give the award to, but I don't know his last name. I know his
Okay.
I know his first name.
Is that now? Who is that? Like a manager or
He's the manager
of the produce section?
of the produce section.
That would be great. And if I may suggest in seconding this motion, if we can notify his superiors as well, I think that would be certainly appropriate.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh. I'm sorry. Commissioner Jeffords.
That's okay. That's okay. I wanted to third that motion, just kidding. But I just wanted to make a quick statement before we called for the vote, or even after. I just wanted to thank you personally for bringing this to light, because this is a service that myself and I'm sure many viewers out there can utilize. And I thank Fry's Food Stores for doing this. And again, I'm looking forward to trying that.
Excellent.
All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, so Fry's Food Store will be receiving the Above and Beyond Award. Linda, now we're still waiting for QT, so will that be next month, or how will we work that?
I don't see a reason why we cannot do both next month, since we already had the presentation approved for QT stations, and go ahead and I'll do the certificate up. and request for the mayor to sign it, and also put that on the September agenda.
Thank you.
Just do them both next month.
All right, this, item number 6 is the discussion and action, Commissioner Yeager.
I just wanted to point out, I don't know if you want to consider, while we're here, to ask Linda, if you might want to get in touch with her to put somebody's name on it later, or rather than just Fry's, or if you want to put, when you do get his last name, if you want to have that put on there. I don't know, that's up to you.
Thank you.
But you might want to consider that now, and if so, you could let her know within this coming days.
Thank you. And Linda, I will email you a name. Because like I said, I know his first name, I do not know his last name. Commissioner Jeffords, did you have something else? Okay. All right, discussion item number 6 is the discussion and action pertaining to approval of the July 8th, 2015 DAC meeting minutes. Did we all have a chance to read the minutes from last meeting?
Yes.
And did anybody find any errors? I read it, I did not see any.
Not here.
Commissioner Jeffords? No? Okay. So,
I move to approve.
Vice Chair Stutzman?
I second the motion that we approve the minutes of the July 8th, 2015 Disability Commission meeting.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the July 8th, 2015 DAC meeting minutes are hereby approved. And our last agenda item is discussion and action pertaining to future agenda items. Linda, so far, we have the presentation to the Above and Beyond Award to the QT stations that was tabled,
Correct?
pertaining to making arrangements for events and disability-related topics to speak at local libraries. Commissioner Jeffords asked us to table that one.
Right.
We will review the Cross Disabilities Children programming, and we will also continue our discussion with the DAC brochure.
Correct.
And we will add the Above and Beyond Award to Fry's Food Store for next month.
Correct.
Commissioner Jeffords.
Last month, I believe we talked about having a gentleman come in and talk for several minutes about a computer technical support and repair service that's done remotely. And he works with people who are blind and with other disabilities, and it's a monthly service, and they have different levels. And the name escapes me at this time of the company, Tech Communications or something. So I did communicate with him. He's happy to come in and talk to us, and we can, tell him that he's only got 10 minutes or something, but I think it could be a valuable resource for our citizens.
Okay, can we add that to the agenda, please?
Absolutely, yes.
Can you get the name of the company to Linda?
Absolutely, yeah, and I will do that.
Okay. Then Chair Posner, I also have that Mr. Fry would come and speak to us regarding the Surprise Adaptive Sports Program, to add that on also.
Thank you, Linda.
Welcome.
Commissioner Yeager?
Yeah, I think this makes a difference, and this is, I guess, a question for Linda Davis. With the chair's kind permission, what I'd like to have on the agenda for next month with the crossover music literacy program, if you could list it as, with the chair's approval, of course, discussion and/or possible vote. So if we have all that information together and everything's coming together, and we've gotten that all done, we can take a vote on it and move forward with it.
Very good. Can we change it to discussion and/or possible
Absolutely.
vote, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other agendas that we would like to, Vice Chair Stutzman?
If our agenda is getting kind of long, if you would like to move QT stations to the following month after Fry's, I've got to set it up with him from scratch again, so
Oh,
do it either way.
can you, because I know we've been trying with QT for a while, so can you find out from him which month would be better for him?
Okay.
Because I know sometimes stores are busy in one month, but they're not so busy in another month. So can you find out from him which month would be better and then communicate that with Linda?
Absolutely. We had talked about having a goal of trying to have one every month. So if we want to spread them out to further that goal, that would be fine. And if you need it to be on the record for tonight, if we just want to set, well, actually, you haven't spoken to the person yet?
No, so if you've already spoken to QT, so we could push Fry's back to October.
It's whatever everyone prefers. It's, you
I
know.
think that it would work out better if we did QT next month and did Fry's the next month to
Rise
give
in
them.
October.
Yes,
Okay.
Fry's will be
to
October.
give them get the information to you and for him to approach them and
Okay,
see if
that's
it's something
what
that
I'll
they
do
would be
then.
open to. Okay.
Is there any other items that we would like to add to the agenda next month? Okay, so before we wrap up, I do have just a couple comments, one to the board and one to our audience watching. First off, to the commission. When it comes to the Above and Beyond Award, just like with Fry's this month, I noticed something that they did for me. And so if they do it for you, even if the above and beyond, I cannot say that phrase tonight, is not your area that you were focusing on that we discussed, bring that to our attention, because sometimes you shop at stores or you patronize stores that others don't. So we don't want to miss somebody because somebody's not in that particular area. So just please bring that to us if you do happen to see it. And lastly, before I close out, I just want to remember to the TV audience, schools are in session. Traffic is slowed during certain times of the day, and I just ask that you guys please be careful. We have little kids crossing the street. We have parents picking up and dropping off, so just please be safe. And this meeting for August 12th, 2015 of the Disability Advisory Commission is closed.